Hey YouTubers, Ruben here, the Blue Pepper. You know, I've been working on several projects now, and I have several ideas and things that I'd like to do. A lot of PVC bows, the Home Guard bow, the Sipahi Warrior bow, the horse bow, the Penobscot bow. But I saw a video that was very interesting to me. It was a young man, and he had a mini compound bow. I listed the URL down below there, and I looked at it and I thought it very interesting, so I decided I want to make a mini compound bow too. So in order to do that, what I wanted to do is try to figure out the materials that he used, since he never made a tutorial about it. And so doing the examination, you know, via video, just looking at the materials that he made, and I noticed that, you know, certain things that was wrong with it. I mean, he had a lot of zip ties holding it all together. The handle for it was very, very wide, and the pipe that he was using, the colored pipe that he was using, if it's the same kind as I'm thinking, that is more kind of a garden variety type pipe than the usual Schedule 40 that we bowyers use. So what I did was I went and I got some material, and I'm going to craft this mini PVC compound bow using ideas that are in my head, plus some of tips I picked up watching on YouTube. So I will post all those places where I got those tips from down below as well. So I'm going to clean off my workbench, close the door behind me so this reflection light behind doesn't happen, and get to work. See you in a bit. Okay, well, I'm back. Let's start with the list of materials I've got. First, on a compound bow, I know they have wheels on the top and the bottom. Well, not really wheels, I don't know what they call it, but anyhow, I couldn't find those around here, and if I found them, looking online, I found them was either a singular one for sale or a pair of them were for sale, but they're really too expensive for me right now, so I decided that I've got to come up with another idea. So just out of dumb curiosity, I went to my local Salvation Army store and I found a set of kid-sized rollerblades, and I saw the wheels on there and a little light went on. So what I did was that I took the rollerblade wheels off, and beneficial was the screw that holds it in. This part is hollow, and this part is the screw, and one goes inside to the other, so we don't have exactly a nut and bolt type thing going on here. So that's fantastic. And what I began to do was kind of take my rotary tool with the sanding barrel on it and start sanding the round part of the wheel flat, so I can make a groove so the string can ride on that groove. Another piece of material I have is fiberglass rod. This fiberglass rod I got from old tent rods from a tent that we used to have, a little small one that got ruined, so we threw away the tent, but I kept the rods. So fiberglass, very flexible. I probably can use this to reinforce the bow. It doesn't melt very well. I've tried heating it up and try to melt it, you know, make a nice angle shape out of it, but I found that when you heat it up, the fibers break up. So when I tried to make a little small bend on it, it bent, but it didn't stay all together, and all the fibers came up together, and that was a weak spot in it. So I'm not going to heat this up all by itself. I've got oh, these are 22 inches long, by the way, because I didn't mention that. And these are the small, really small diameter fiberglass rod, not the really thick one or the medium sized one. This is this really small one. When they come in like this, course, they got the metal end on it, and then they're sheathed with a coat of like a plastic cover, and then on the inside is the rod. So what I did was I just heated up the end, slipped it out, heated up the glue, slipped it out, and it comes right out. This is 1/2 inch air brake hose, not garden hose, not flex hose, whatever you would see in a hardware store. This is air brake hose. If anybody out there knows a trucker or somebody who drives truck, they will tell you what this is for. Basically, is for the air brakes on a truck or a vehicle that has air brakes. I got this at the local auto parts store, and a 10-foot section of 1-inch Schedule 40 PVC. I'm not going to use the whole thing. This I'm planning on using as the handle. And the part that's going to make it mini is this. This is, it says right on here, 1/2 inch C PVC. And it looks like regular PVC, but the thickness, I couldn't tell if it was regular Schedule 40, Schedule 20. I looked it up on the internet. It said they come in Schedule 40, so I'm going to assume this is Schedule 40, but it says it's 1/2 inch. Now, I've got 1/2 inch Schedule 40 PVC here, and I looked at the difference between the two. This one is 1/2 inch OD, that's outside diameter, whereas the regular other PVC Schedule 40 that I got is 1/2 inch ID, inside diameter. So, for people who know the difference, you know what I'm talking about. But the roundness of this PVC is 1/2 inch measured from the outside, not the inside like the other one. This particular PVC is made by Flow Guard Gold, and this is, I bought this in a 10-foot section. I haven't even cut this yet, so I'm trying to determine how big I want the limbs to be, how long I want the limbs to be. But this is pretty good. I mean, it's quite flexy already, just the way it is. So I can imagine if I just put this, you know, into 2 of these into the 1/2 inch, you know, flatten it, got the 2 of them inside this 1/2 inch somehow with some measure of limb to it. I think that's pretty darn close, so maybe, you know, 14 inches or so, and squeeze them into this 1/2 inch thing, and then when that 1 inch pipe cools, it'll clinch and close around it and make it really, really strong and really tight. And I'll probably fill in with hot glue to take up the gaps in the space, and then somehow figure out a way to, when the 2 ends are up like this, get them apart enough to where I can stick the wheel in between and go from there. So that's going to be the hardest part of this project. So I'm gonna start. Here we go. Okay, folks, so what I've done so far is I've done my measuring and my cutting. I wanted to figure out how long I wanted my limbs to be on this mini compound. So what I did was I went ahead and I cut my pipe, the PVC pipe, 41 inches. And there's a reason for that odd number. So I've got 2 pieces of that, both of them exactly 41 inches. I cleaned off the ends, took the burrs off. The reason why I did 41 inches is because I wanted to have a significant amount of limb on both sides. So the limbs on these are going to be 18 inches long. Now you're trying to figure out where the other 5 inches is going. The other 5 inches is going is to your handle. I took that 1 inch PVC and I cut it to 5 inches. What I did was I basically took the PVC and I grabbed it. This is for my own handle. So some may be bigger, some may be smaller. If you're good at mathematics, you can adjust for the size of the handle. But 5 inches, 5 to 6 inches seems to be the basic size for everybody. So I took it, I cut it to 5. It was actually 4.5, but I made it 5 inches. half an inch extra is not going to hurt anything, and also helps with the math. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this half-inch piece, I'm going to heat it, and I'm going to attempt to get it, both these pieces of PVC pipe, all the way down to the center right here. If you get the general idea and you're looking at it. So these two pieces are going to be inside this PVC and hopefully very tightly bound together with very little play. And then after that, of course, I'm going to give some flex to the limbs, and that's pretty good flex now without having really to do anything to it. That's not bad at all. Actually, I might not even flex it at all. It all depends on how much stronger it gets after I put the handle on. But a trick I've learned when I'm sliding PVC into PVC, especially when it's hot, is to use Vaseline. Stop laughing. I know you're laughing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to Vaseline these pipes, and when I get this good and hot, obviously I'm going to be wearing gloves, I'm going to slide it right over the top and get it where I've marked the center of both of these PVC pipes. So the center right here would be 20.5 inches, and then I went 2.5 inches to the left and 2.5 inches to the right on this, which gives me 5 inches. So this is center, and these two marks make it 5 inches, so that's where my handle is going to be. So that's why the 41 inches, they're odd size. But let me go ahead and heat up that 1-inch pipe, slip it over, and come back after that. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm taking some petroleum jelly and I'm spreading it on the outside where the 1-inch PVC is going to make contact. I don't have to do all the pipe. I just want to do on the outside parts because that's where the PVC is going to make contact. And I'm hoping, like it has done before, but I've only done it on short lengths, not really long lengths, is when that PVC gets there, it's really hot, makes contact with Vaseline, it becomes extremely slippery, and it just slides right on down all the way to the mark. I took the liberty of taking the other side and rubber banding it so that the limbs, these two limbs, don't rock back and forth when I'm pushing down on that centerpiece that I'm going to put in. So I've got these all lubricated with Vaseline. Stop laughing. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat up this 5-inch piece here, and then I'm going to attempt to slip it over really fast and get it to the exact same spot that I want before it cools. Now I've got to turn off my cooler in order to do this, otherwise it's going to cool off the pipe. It's very hot here in Butte County right now. It's 106 degrees outside. I know you're asking me what the heck am I doing outside if it's 106. I'm bored inside. I have to stay active. My mind keeps going. But anyhow, so there we go. Turn off my cooler and I'll start heating up. Fortunately, it's a very short section, so it should heat up relatively fast, especially when it doesn't drop on the floor. And I'm not using my heat shield, whatever that thing is I made. You know what I'm talking about. I just got it flat on my bench, and I've got a block of 2x4 behind it, just heating it up in the front. The 2x4 helps keep the heat in that general area, and also doesn't allow the piece of PVC to float away. I'll switch hands here real quick. Attempt to heat and put my right hand glove on at the same time. I'm right-handed, so I'll be using a lot of my right hand for pushing down on this handle. Stop laughing. I want to heat this up really, really good. I want it to be soft, soft, soft as I possibly can get it without burning it and without making it crack. That's getting soft already. I can squeeze it, but I want it softer than that. Heat it through the center. Try not to burn the ends. Keep your heat gun away from it. Let the heat do the work. It's soft. I'm tempted to try it now, but I want to keep on heating this for another moment. Ooh, that was hot. Some of that heat came back on my fingers in my left hand. How's the weather where you're at? Hopefully it's a lot cooler than it is there than it is here. Alright. Got it hot. Very, very hot. Flexy, flexy. Very soft. Very hot. And I just touched it with my gloves and it was still pretty hot. That's good. So after I turn this off, I need to hang it back up because I had an accident one time. I was heating up a piece of pipe, laid it down on my bench, and then somehow the side of my right palm touched the iron part. And that took a while to heal. So I decided I'm going to make a hanger for this thing, so once I'm done with it, I know it's still hot, but I can hang it up, and it's a far distance away from me. It's not going to heat up anything or burn anybody. Okay. I think that's nice and melted now. So, take my heat gun, hang it up, keep it away from me, my hands will burn me. I'm now taking this piece of 1 inch, goes over, oh, that is nice. That was very nice and easy. A lot easier than I thought. That wasn't very hard at all. So now get it lined up to my 1 inch mark, or my mark. So I've got it. You can't really see my marks, but my marks are here and here. So now that PVC right there is going to cool. Once it cools, these two pieces, hopefully, even if not, that's quite all right, are going to be very tightly held on with this. So I'm going to lay it down here on top of my water bucket, and I'm going to cool that off. Turn my fan back on for myself. I was totally guessing on that 1 inch would fit these 2 1/2 inches. I mean 2 1/2 inches, 1 inch, make an inch. And I know heating it would make it stretch. So it fits very well. It's still soft. That's how hot it was. It's still kind of soft. I can kind of flex it a little bit in the center with my fingers. Let's see if I can get it to profile. Nope, that's hardening now. And it's still hot. Alright. I'm going to let that finish cooling off, as well as myself cooling off. Now I got to think about if I'm going to stick these fiberglass rods in the center to reinforce it. I think I will. I mean, considering how these limbs are, well, actually it's not one anymore, it's two together, so see how that, oh boy, that's nice. See that, people? No reflex. It just by itself. That's pretty good. That's a good, I don't know, 15, 20 pounds maybe? I mean, I didn't think to mean this for it to be strong. I mean, it's a mini. But 2 of these 1/2 inches put together, if I reinforce it with that fiberglass rod down the center, who knows? After this cools off, I'm going to continue with the ends of these limbs and put the wheels on. Be back. Okay. Well, after it cooled, I pulled on the handle and it did come out. That's just okay though. It's alright that happened, because now I have to take and flatten the ends here so I can get a contact surface for the wheel, which has probably like maybe a centimeter of clearance from the actual wheel itself, and then also so I can put the center bolt through. And I've decided to go ahead and use the fiberglass rod to reinforce it. Fortunately, I saved the metal end. You know, you see it and the end comes out, and you can put another metal, another rod on there, and I used it in the center and I taped it together, because since I took the plastic coating off of there, it's no longer fitting, so it's a little bit loose. But I took some black tape and I put the ends together, and what this is going to do basically is also going to help when you slide that down inside the limb. It will keep it, you know, taut in the place where I stop. So measuring these, it's longer than the limb, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut off some from the ends here before I put it in, because I want it to be exact. I believe I'm going to be doing flattening for maybe about 2 inches, which should be more than enough. Let's see, maybe, yeah, I can probably get away with 1.5 inches. Yeah, let's say 1.5 inches flattening from the tips, so I can mount the wheel, and then finally heating up the ends so that they open wide enough for the wheel to fit through, but also to allow it to basically be wide enough so the wheel fits right in the center. And so that's what I'm aiming to do right now. Gotta watch those wheels because the center bearings come out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these fiberglass rods that I have put together, and I'm going to flatten these ends, and I'm going to put it all together. Let's see what that turns out like, and I'll be back in a moment. Alright, so what I did was I took the rods and I trimmed the rods, put them together with the center, at the center with the metal pieces, taped them together, so now they're both the exact same size. Then I heated up one side of the pipe, flattened it on both pieces of pipes, and after I smashed it, it was relatively hard enough. I dipped it in my water, let it cool off. So now I know that's 1.5 inches, so I don't have to worry about centering these rods. So I know I can just put the ends in, go all the way until it stops. Then I know I'm at that 1.5 inch mark clearance on both ends. So I just stuck it in there and finished pushing it in with the screwdriver. So I'll show it on camera with this one. So here we go. Fiberglass rod in. It's a little snug because of that black tape, but that's okay. That's what you want. Slide it down. Push it in until it stops. And you got fiberglass rod inside it, and you know it stopped right there. If you did all your measurements right and stuff like that. So now I know I've got 1.5 inches clearance inside, so when I flatten this, the fiberglass rod is not going to jiggle up and down. And wow, it has improved on the flex. You hear the little cracking in there. That's because the fiberglass rod is actually being purposed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten these ends. I am going to seal in that rod, and then we are going to attempt to put the wheels on and assemble. Now, being this as small a pipe as it is, it doesn't take very long to heat it up. So I'm just going over it with the heat gun, 1.5 inches from the tip. So the whole tip is 1.5 inches. And I'm going to put it in one of my small jigs, smash it flat, and I guess that will be the receiving end for the wheel. And once you see this thing start to puff and deform, you know you've got it to very close to its melting point. Go for a few more seconds heating it up. Make sure you got it nice and soft, so when you smash it on the edge, you get that very, very top of that fiberglass rod that you have in there. Oh yeah, another thing you got to remember too, when you're smashing it, smash it in the same direction as the other one. Don't make the mistake I almost just made, smashing it in the wrong direction. So I'll go ahead, put it in this little jig, smash it down, let it cool a little bit in that position, and then go ahead and stick it in the water so it hardens all the way. And after this hardens up a little bit, I'll show you the jig I'm using. That's hardened up already. And being small as it is, it doesn't take too long to harden up, and neither does it take too long to cool off. So now we got a nice flat end. The rod inside is, oh, that's good. The rod inside is firm. It's not sliding back and forth. Stop laughing. I know you're remembering the Vaseline. You can still hear it in there when you flex the rod, flex the limbs. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the same thing with this one. And this is the jig I'm using. I saw this kind of jig, Nick's video, one of his tutorials. I can't remember what bow it was, but he had a similar to this, but it was made by 2x4s. This is made by 1x3s. And so I took 2 1x3s, hinged them, got a little bit of a gap in the back. The reason being, so when you're smashing PVC, you know you're not going to smash it completely flat. So the gap in the back there is, so like when I get it flat, it's going to be perfectly flat and not V-shaped. So this is the jig I'm using. The PVC is small enough so when I stick it in the jig, that it just smashes completely all the way. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no angles. It's just flat PVC. So I'm going ahead and I'm heating the end of this one just about 1.5 inches. Even with the cooler on, it's still going to heat up really quickly. Back and forth, and around, up and down. So it's starting to puff up now, so I know I'm getting close to it. It's very close to its soft point, but I just want to keep on heating it a little bit more. I bumped it to check to see how melted it was. It's melted, but it's not soft. So now that's soft. So now take it, put it in there about 1.5 inches. Inch and a half, you'll notice you find the end of that fiberglass rod. Dang it, I did it again. I smashed it in the wrong direction. I'm talking too much, that's my problem. Okay, so reheating this into the limb. I guess it's really not fair to call it a Sia. I mean, it's not really a Sia, is it? Tim, help me on that one. So, flat, flat, and flatten. Find the end of that fiberglass rod right there. And it should, right there. Nice. Let that cool for a moment. Lift that back end up so I don't get a kink in the end. So like I said, it doesn't take very long to cool. I mean, it's a small pipe, heats fast, cools fast. There we go. Mash the end, stick it in water. Sets it for me. That feels pretty good. I can imagine what it's like when I put both together. Wow, some pretty good flex. Now that's not with the handle in it, so let's see. I guess by looking at these, I'm gonna have to do them one at a time. Uh-oh, Houston, we have a problem. Inadvertently, I didn't think it through. I can get one limb in, but I can't get the other limb in because of the flattened part. Maybe if I work it, maybe I can get it through. Start it. Well, that's not going to work. So, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to round this back out, put it through, flatten it. So while I'm fixing my mess up, go ahead and get yourself a cold drink. I wish I had one now. It's very hot out here in Butte County. Hot, hot, hot. Trial and error, people. This is the first time I'm making this thing, ever. It's not like I did a practice run before. So you're learning from my mistakes. So, flatten 3 of the 4 ends, but leave one completely round so you can be sure that you put it through. Once you're done. There goes nothing. Try to return it to its round shaped state. Well, let me try it while it's hot. I can't really get it to open up because be back in a moment. Alright. So, having to fix my screw up, what I had to do was I tried reheating the tip, but it kept getting puffier and puffier, and I couldn't get it through, so I ended up reheating the handle and slipping that back over again, cooling it. But now that I got all that together, at the flattening ends, I took and I drilled the holes the same size as the center bolt that went through the wheel. And so as you see, I got it mounted, and it moves pretty freely, but it's catching a little bit right there. So when I do my next one and I squeeze this limbs, I think I'll do it 2 inches, maybe 2 1/4, to make sure I have enough clearance for all the wheel for sure. So what I'm planning on doing now is basically heating this area right here so I can spread it, but at the same time closing this part right here so it stays together. So here's the other end with the wheel on it. That one's a little bit more free. The flattening was just a little bit off, but when I heat this, it will fix that itself. See how if I squeeze it there, it's gonna get the wheel gets caught. It needs to be free moving if it's gonna do what it's due, like a compound bow. But there it is, put together. So far, no reflex, but let's. Wow! Wow! That is amazing. Oh my gosh! That is very strong. Woo! I'm happy about this one. A little too excited. So let me fix up my limb ends here. See if I can get a clearance, and then make the string for this thing. So be right back. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to find my tube of crazy glue in my very dirty bench, and put some down in there. I'm using gel crazy glue down there, get in between those limbs, the outside, one right there. I'm kind of filling that little bit of hole right there. Putting some crazy glue down in there in between the limbs to see if I can get these up here. Get some in there. Perfect. That's lovely. So before that sets, go ahead and check it again. Straight. All the glue is all over there. So when that sets, it's going to set pretty tight. Once you got it straight, perfect, let the glue do its job, and I'm going to leave this to dry, not mess with it until that limb sets. So I guess now is a good time I can start building my string. Let me clean off my workbench and start on that string. Be right back. Okay, so I decided trying to heat it and adjust it without having glue or anything like that on it, everything's just moving and wobbling around. So what I did is I took some hot glue stick, or half of a hot glue stick, and I laid it right here in this channel, right underneath the handle here, heated it up with the heat gun, and then spread it with the flat stick. So I did those on both sides. And I did it on one side here, but not this, so I can show you. So, here we go. Here's the half a glue stick. So I'm just going to do is lay it in this channel, just like that, right here. Heat it up with the heat gun, and then smooth it out. Hold on a second. I'm doing it on low heat on my heat gun, just so that it melts the glue more than it would heat up the PVC pipe, considering that the PVC pipe is so easy to heat up. It only takes less than a minute to heat up that glue. And I gotta heat it up in this channel. So you see, you know when it's really melted, when it just starts to lay flat in those channels. Alright, and before I put the crazy glue, the hot glue, I squirted some crazy glue down the center just to give it some extra reinforcement. So you can see my hot glue there is melted, so I'm just taking a stick and just going down that channel and filling that channel with hot glue. And I'm going evenly right over the top so that the glue is flush inside that channel. I'm not pushing it down or trying to scrape it down. I'm going flat over the top, and that's starting to harden and tack up already. And also another thing, I put some black tape to keep the PVCs close together. The wheel still moves kind of freely. This is the side that's off, and every time I try to correct it, it would affect the other side. So I'm figuring I should heat it up. But this side's fairly straight, all glued. This side is all glued, but not straight at all. Let's see if I can actually see. Can you tell that it's off? I'm working with the camera here that's on my laptop, but it's not perfectly straight. If you look down it, it's kinked a little bit over to my right. So hopefully when the glue sets, so this one's absolutely perfect, I'll get the opportunity to heat these ends of this lens here and turn it and make that adjustment and get it perfectly straight. So right now, while I'm waiting for that the hot glue to set, I'm actually going to start, I'm going to tighten the wheels on there. They're just finger tight right now, and they use they're not flathead and they're not Phillips. They use a special bit to tighten these, and fortunately I have those bits. So while I'm waiting for that to set up, I'm going to go ahead and tighten those wheels on there. That's nice. Actually, that helped a little bit. I don't want to get it super tight because I don't want to squeeze the... Oh wow, hey, that's kind of lined it up a little bit better on that side. Let's see what happens over here. Well, this one's going to be a tough customer. That's okay. When you can't see it, it's hard to tell which one's a screw and which one's the bolt. That tight on there. That moves nice and free. Still lined up. This one's still off a lot. Check my glue. It's still a little bit tacky, a little bit warm, but it's not sticking to me, so I think it's safe enough to go ahead and start messing with this other one here. So let me cut the black tape off a bit from the very top so it doesn't pinch the wheel again. Take my hot gun here. just heat up that PVC a little bit right underneath the limbs. Just right there. Make the adjustment. I don't want it melted. I just want it soft enough where I can work it. Check it. Keep that up. I laid my heat gun down on my workbench. I'm just heating it around and around. It's just a quicker transition instead of having to turn the heat gun off, put it down, and then use my free hand for that. Yeah, that's heating up. Move darn near perfect. Oh, just a hair more. So I'm gonna keep on heating that up. Start seems a little bit tough, so which will tell me that it's heating up. All right, so I got the limb straight. Do that off. Dip that in my water so I don't lose that. That's beautiful. Now I just need to heat up one side of the limbs a little bit. Pop that wheel over to my left just so I get it perfectly vertical. So I'm just going to heat up that one little piece right there. Just that one bubbled part right there. Get the heat to focus on that part. I'm putting tension on the wheel too, so I know when it gets right to that melting point, I can use my hand strength to straighten it out. That is almost 100% perfect. I just need a little bit more. So I heat it up, I can feel it, I can stretch it with my hands, and get it to center, straighten out before it cools off. Off just a hair. There we go, ladies and germs. That is perfectly straightened. The limbs. Go ahead, turn off my heat gun. Put it in my safe place. Dip that limb in water. Set it. And that should be it for now. I'm actually considering hot gluing it all the way up to the top, just so the limbs won't have that gap there. Maybe. I don't know. Could be a benefit, could be not. Okay, y'all. So last time I left off, I was cutting the grooves into the wheels, which I was going to use, and I had to bring it inside. Wife called me in for dinner, and so it started getting late and started getting mosquitoes, and I hate mosquitoes, so brought it inside to the kitchen. But here's what the finished, semi-finished product looks like. Here's the wheels I got over here, and I don't know if you can tell, but I cut a groove into it so the string rides onto that groove. So there's that on one end, and there's it on the other end. So as you can see, it's a 3-string compound bow, and I tried to do the setup like Jacob L did on his, but I couldn't do it that way. I tried putting a nail bent over, and that didn't hold. It kept coming out of the wheel, and then I tried screwing in an eye. That didn't work, and so I went back and I looked at the first video, and I noticed that he didn't have it anywhere on the wheels, so he mounted it onto the limbs. So what I got here, as you can see, I have a pin going into the limbs on both sides, and I've got the string knotted. So basically what I did is that I took the one string, tied it on this end, went across, looped over the top, came back around, looped underneath, came back down to the here, which made the third string, and then I basically put the little small loopholes that I made right through onto these pins. So as you can see, I'm going to trim these pins later on, but you can see how well it holds on to that line. So, and so let me see if I get a draw for you. You hear that cricking and cracking? That's from the fiberglass rods on the inside, but you can see how far I'm drawing. So let's say here's the R. Pretty good. I say somewhere close to, not very high, maybe 20 pounds, 22 pounds. I guess I should probably try putting a recurve on the limbs, give it more strength. But as of right now, I can just, pretty easy. I guess the wheels make it a lot easier. I mean, it's working. So that's pretty good. So there it is, my mini compound bow. There we go.
Yes, you are.
All right.
Go get a blanket.
I'll shoot it tomorrow.
You.
Thanks for watching.